How's it going, guys? Welcome back to Johnny's Speed Shop. Today we're going to be adding a oil pressure gauge on this BMW. This is a 435i with an N55. This is going to be a tutorial for anybody who has these oil filter housings that also have the oil pressure sensor right here. That is M12 by 1.5. So if we come back over to my desk, I got everything kind of set up. This is all what you're going to need. So right here is everything you guys are going to need. This is a T adapter that is M12 by 1.5. There's a male end that is on this end and then a female on this, and it also has an 1/8 inch NPT fitting for your aftermarket sensor. Your factory sensor will go on the back side of this. And I do have a adapter going from that M12 to 6AN, because if you try to throw this on in N55, you will hit the your intake manifold with this back end. If you try to put your sensor on, you won't be able to screw it in. I've tried a whole bunch, and this is what I kind of came up with. There's some Teflon on the end of that, PTFE tape. So we're just going to screw this guy kind of in like this, and then throw this end on right here, and then that's how it's going to sit into the block, and then obviously our factory sensor on the end over here. So I'll go take you guys over to the car, and then we'll go and try to install this thing. I also am using a glow shift oil pressure gauge. It's one of the cheaper ones you can get on Amazon right now that has a small head on it. So there's different kind of gauges you can get. This is a sensor for a different style gauge. It was a lot cheaper than the glow shift, and it's just, you could see the size difference in that. And I figured going with a smaller sensor would be an easier option. You'll most likely get the same results. So we'll go take you guys over the car, and then we'll go ahead and try to install this guy. So looking at the car from the front, you will have your oil pressure sensor, which is this guy right here. There's just a little push lock kind of deal on here. I'll kind of show you how to get this guy off. So this front tab just pushes up that little guy right in there, and then this whole piece will slide off. So yep, once you get it like that, you pull this off. I already cracked this loose. I don't know exactly what size this is. I just use a wrench, a little adjustable. You might have a little bit of oil coming out of here. This is a newer sensor, so I'm going to keep this one, but you can replace these and install another one if you're having issues, but we're going to go ahead and keep ours. So where that sensor came out of, we are going to take our M12 to 6AN adapter. Just going to go ahead and screw this guy in, if I could get it. Move these wires out of the way a little bit. Try to. So screw this guy in, and there is a little rubber O-ring on it. I just keep it on there. It's all the way tight. We'll take our adjustable wrench, or you can get a sized wrench for this, but it doesn't really matter as long as you're getting it. So we'll just screw that guy in all the way, get it pretty tight. I just went until it stopped turning and then just gave it a little bit. We'll go ahead and throw our AN line on. This is a 90-degree AN fitting, and they have both female ends. So go ahead and screw this guy in, and I can leave it kind of loose because then you're able to kind of swivel this guy around, see where you want to put it. Next up, we're going to take our prepped T. I'm just going to screw this guy on. Try to get a good clip of that. Oh, wrong way. Oh, still wrong way. There we go. So you should start to end up with something a little like this. So now I just went ahead and threw our OEM sensor on. This is our aftermarket sensor. I'm going to try to find a good way to kind of have this sit. It would have been nice if this kind of extended out and then it could drip right behind. But doesn't look like that'll be the case for us, so I might just have it kind of sit something like that. Our factory plug is right down in here, so that'll still work over there if I cut that zip tie off. But I'll come back to you guys when I get a solid little plan of what we're doing here. So after playing around with the sensor and the 90, figured this would be the best spot for me. It might change depending on what you're doing, how your vehicle's set up. If you're still running the cover, I don't run one on this one at all, but I think I might go ahead and tighten that down right there. I still got a little bit of slop in this, but just enough to keep it, off the fuel rail right there and out of the way of some of this wire. So now that everything's all tightened down, you can kind of see how it's all going to sit. And we do have, a small little gap right under where the fuel line and that T are sitting. So after this, we will go ahead and move on to the wiring. I did disconnect the sensor right here just so I could get a little bit more access to all the stuff in here. So here's our oil pressure sensor. So for routing this gauge right here, the wiring for the sensor, I'm coming down over back towards the back of the motor. This is going to sit all nice like that, but have it coming through a little spot underneath, and then where this yellow wire is, there's a grommet right next to the brake master, and I fished a piece of yellow wire down in there, something a little bit more tough than this flimsy little wire right here. But if you come to the inside of the car, oh shit, got no light. One sec. Alright, so if you come to the inside of the car, you see that wire is fished down, and it's pretty far up there. I did take off that little piece of trim. It's just held in by two nuts, two 10 mil nuts. They're studs. Let me see if I can get a better picture. So there's one stud right here, right there, and then there's another stud right here. And those are just two 10 mil nuts. It's right in front of the airbag that's down here, but I'll go ahead and work on getting that fish through, and then we'll worry about power. All right, so after spending some time Googling around some forums and checking some stuff with a meter, and then also messing with the wiring on this glow ship gauge, I found out that the 12 volt and the constant 12 volt and the switch 12 volt, the switch 12 volt is really just for the light on the gauge. The ignition switched is for the actual gauge function. So I'm going to tie those together just so the whole thing comes on at the same time. I ended up taking the dash apart, or not the dash, the center console apart, and there's a 12 volt socket that's in there. You also have one on the back of the car, which you can see that little blue LED. They don't turn off immediately after the car is turned off. I think it takes like 5 or 10 minutes, but I mean, I'm only adding one gauge, and if you guys are doing this, you guys can spend some more time and try to find out another source. I know you can run to the back of the car and do the fuse box, but for my case, this works for me. But there's a plug that's down here. See, I already cut it. So brown is your ground, and then this red with green, that is your positive 12 volts, your hot. And then what I did down here is I cut the plug. I'm going to splice it together. I'm using some crimps and then also heat shrink, so that'll go over that and kind of cover all that stuff up. Hopefully it'll be fine. I mean, adding something onto this wouldn't really do anything. I don't even use a 12 volt socket in the front as it is, so I feel like there's no harm here. I did end up getting the sensor wire up here. I just ran it up through the back from where that grommet was. I just ran it up here. And then there's a little door on the side over here that you could kind of pry up. And then I just kind of tucked it up here so it'll sit something like that when we're done. But I'll do some wiring. I got to extend that harness, which is what I'm working on right now. So if we walk over here, it's got the harness right here. There's tape right here. It's for a dimmer. So you could switch, you could give that 12 volts when your headlights are turned on, and it'll dim the gauge. I don't really care for that either. So I'm just taping that back. I was testing it all with a 12 volt Milwaukee battery, and then I also have one of these little guys. So this just kind of simulates a car battery. So I was using that. Just kind of messing with this. But I'm going to extend this harness, throw some heat shrink on it. These are the little crimps I use. There you go. It's kind of a U-shaped crimp. And then I also use these. However the fuck you say that name. But they're pretty solid. I've been using a lot of them on the 240 wiring harness. And they worked pretty well. I tested all of the functions of that fuse box, and everything was working fine. No shorts, no loose wires, no unconnected wires. So I'm gonna get going on this harness, and then I'll be back once it's all wired up, and then I'll show you how the gauge works. All right, so here it is with the car running. Got everything kind of buttoned back up. I didn't really talk too much about taking all this stuff off, but basically you pop this entire piece of trim off. Then you'll go ahead and pop this one off, but you got to be really careful. I cracked mine. You could barely see the crack right there. Pop that one off, pop this one off, and then you go ahead and pop this guy off. They're all clips. And then you'll be left with this round piece, which is also the cup holders and the 12-volt socket, which is how I got all that stuff back there. But then you'll have some Torx. I don't remember if they're T15s or T10s, but you'll have one here. There's one facing straight down right here, and then there's one right below these buttons. So taking that apart was easy. It's not too terrible. Just make sure you have some plastic trim tools. But other than that, the gauge is it's working. Give it some gas. So there we go. So if you guys don't want to install a physical gauge, there's another way you guys can kind of check your oil pressure. There's a couple different apps for that. There's I think it's Beamer something, but there's a couple different apps you guys can look online, and all you guys have to do is buy an OBD2 scanner. I bought mine. Mine's eNet, but I don't like having the apps up all the time on my phone. I should probably get like a secondary kind of tablet or something, kind of stick down the middle if I wanted to monitor it. But if you guys didn't want to do that, you guys are more than welcome to try this out. That's just the easy way, is doing it with that plug. It costs around the same. I think it was $60 for the OBD2 scanner, and then it was $35 for the app. So in the end, you'll be spending around the same, just depending on like what gauge you get. But yeah, that's the end of this one. I guess I'll go ahead and see you guys on the next one.